All right, and we back on the forecast. Now we have to be clear, we are prisoners of war. And we didn't start this war. This war has been going on for hundreds of years, and it's not over. And the truth is, despite no matter how much of our history has been hidden, we have fought back every step of the way. We gotta understand who we are and the ability that we have. We are literally the only group to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps in America. The government had to help build every other group's middle class. But we had to build things like Black Wall Street on our own because we didn't have any other choice, and we still don't have a choice. But today we have the illusion of inclusion. And something as small as them still taking our tax money should be enough to make us mad, let alone the brutality that they put in our face to send us a message. But we've had so many casualties, the point is to start limiting our casualties. But we have to be ready and willing to do whatever we have to do to get to where we need to get. It's not about being a hot boy and drawing unwarranted attention on you. We have to be careful how we move when we're in the situation that we're in. When you look at history, all the times we were successful at standing up, it wasn't by marching and begging and crying for justice. They used whatever they had to fight back, catching your enemies off guard, guerrilla style, and taking action when you have the advantage. There is power in numbers. There is power in unity. There are reasons laws were passed making it illegal for us to gather in groups more than 3. But we already know who the biggest gang in America is. In Florida, a young unarmed brother, Demarcus Semer, ended up getting shot by Fort Peirce police after what was supposed to be a simple traffic stop. So let's see how this young unarmed brother, Demarcus Semer, ended up getting killed.
It was a case that rocked a Treasure Coast community, and this evening, nearly 5 months after he was shot and killed by Fort Peirce police, a grand jury has handed down its decision.
That grand jury determining the officers involved in the shooting death of Demarcus Semer were justified in their actions. We have team coverage, and we begin with News Channel 5's John Shainman live outside the St. Lucie West Courthouse. John.
In this grand jury summary that we received this afternoon, we learned that Demarcus Semer was killed by a single gunshot wound to his lower right back, and we also learned he may have been trying to avoid arrest for minor drug offenses.
It's okay to murder because it was cold-blooded murder.
A mother in tears after learning that the 2 Fort Peirce police officers who shot her son will not face criminal prosecution for their actions.
It's saying that justice is okay to kill the ones that are sworn to protect us. It's not fair.
Demarcus Semer would have been 22 Monday. On the night of April 23rd, officers tried to pull him over along North 19th Street. The grand jury summary says Semer didn't provide his license at first, and officers noticed a small amount of marijuana on the instrument panel. After refusing to get out, Semer put the car in gear, running over one officer's legs. That officer fired his weapon from just above the ground. The second officer, who had eventually gotten into the car, said Semer was trying to push him out, and upon hearing the initial shots, assumed Semer fired the gun. Seconds later, Semer got out of the car, and there was a short pursuit. The second officer said Semer turned back toward him and raised one of his hands. The officer said he saw an object in Semer's hand and fired. When finally reaching Semer, his hands were empty, his cell phone found a few feet away. A search of the car Semer was driving found drug paraphernalia, and a small amount of marijuana was found wrapped in plastic along the street, but no prints or DNA could be found on it. Demarcus Semer had no criminal record before his death.
Nothing prevents us from moving forward with a civil lawsuit. So I look at it this way, it's our time now to move forward with the investigation on our own.
Ago. Now, word of the grand jury decision certainly spreading throughout the community. A group of church leaders meeting late this afternoon to address the issue. And for that part of the story, let's turn things over to my colleague, Megan McRoberts, who's in Fort Peirce.
Well, John, about a dozen local pastors speaking to us just outside the First Bethel Baptist Church here in Fort Peirce with a message to investigators that if justice was served, there should be no issue giving all of the information behind the investigation. They also released 6 bullet points of information, a call to the police department of things they want to see change as a result of this grand jury decision, including the creation of a civilian review board, or adding dash cameras to all patrol cars, or hiring and recruiting more minority officers. Out here, though, a big message was one to the community to remain peaceful regardless of the decision. Here's what several of the pastors had to say to the community tonight as they anticipate there could be some protests.
Continuing to ask the community to stay peaceful and law-abiding And we are also asking that law enforcement would do the same with the community.
And we've heard several people in the community start about organizing protests for this evening, but the good news is so far everything does appear to sound peaceful, and officers right now not expecting any major problems.
So according to the police, they pulled this young brother over because he was speeding. Then the cop said he refused to show ID, he refused to get out of the car, after he said he was going to arrest him for a small bag of weed. So then the cop, Officer Keith Holmes, tried to pull him out of the car, but to avoid going to jail, this brother took off. And the cop, Keith Holmes, ended up hurting his knee. Now his partner, Officer Brian MacNaught, was on the other side of the car. And he said when he took off, he jumped in the car. So then this cop, Keith Holmes, from the ground, fired his gun into the car with his partner inside of it and almost hit him. But the cop, Brian MacNaught, said he thought the shots was coming from this brother, who didn't have a gun at all. So then while he's driving, the cop, Brian MacNaught, started tasing him. And the brother, Demarcus Semer, ended up getting out of the car and took off running. So then the cop, Brian MacNaught, pulled his gun. Then he said this brother, Demarcus Semer, turned around and pointed like he had a gun, but all he had was a cell phone. Now, I don't know why somebody who was running away from the cops would turn around and point a cell phone like he has a gun, especially cops who had already shot at him. So then the cop, Brian MacNaught, opened fire as he was running away, shooting him one time in the back, killing him. He shot at this brother, Demarcus Semer, 6 times as he was running away. But eventually, a grand jury made up of the average citizen decided not to indict either of these cops on any charges. But despite that, the black police chief, Diane Burney, decided to take matters in her own hands and fire them anyway.
Monday, the termination takes effect for the officers responsible for Semer's death. The police chief outlined the series of errors made that April day that led to the decision to fire the veteran officers. Andrew Lofholm is live now outside the police department to explain. Andrew.
Kelly, Chief Diane Burney said that both officers could have done more to prevent this deadly shooting, that they violated several department policies. After a 7-month investigation, the Fort Peirce Police Department determined Officer Keith Holmes violated 12 department policies and Sergeant Brian MacNaught violated 3. The department says their negligence forced MacNaught to kill Demarcus Semer. We learned Friday the officers pulled Semer over for speeding on April 23rd. The chief revealed they never asked Semer to turn off his car before reaching inside. Authorities say Semer then tried to flee. Holmes was knocked down and MacNaught had no choice but to jump in the car with Semer. Worried for MacNaught's safety, Holmes opened fire. A struggle ensued and Semer got out of the car and ran. After hearing the gunshots and seeing something in Semer's hand, MacNaught shot and killed Semer. The object in hand, a cell phone. A grand jury cleared the officers criminally.
April 23rd, 2016 was a tragic day for our beautiful city. While the shooting may be justified by the letter of the law, these officers could have taken steps to prevent it.
Now, the chief wouldn't say much about the conversation that she had with the officers today, but said that each officer reacted differently. One was silent and the other one was clearly angry, showing a lot more emotion. Now, both officers will have a chance to appeal.
Fort Peirce Police Chief fired both of those officers because she says both violated several policies during that traffic stop. And now that the investigation has been completed, they've released documents, including audio recordings of some of the witnesses. We're hearing for the first time from one of the officers who showed up at the scene talking about the traffic stop. In fact, investigators refer to Officer Justin Goulet as the only other eyewitness, other than the 2 officers involved. Goulet showed up for backup back on April 23rd of last year, just moments after Demarcus Semer had fled the scene in his vehicle, leaving Officer Keith Holmes in the road firing at Semer and Sergeant Brian MacNaught hanging on the moving vehicle. Goulet's recorded interview was one of several included in the documents just released from the Fort Peirce Police Department.
Once those shots were fired, I checked on him and he told me and made me aware that MacNaught was in the vehicle. At that point was for me to go ahead and turn around and start heading towards that vehicle.
According to the report, Sergeant MacNaught was upset upon having learned Officer Holmes shot at Mr. Semer's vehicle with the sergeant in it. The report also states Officer Holmes was questioned about procedures when it comes to traffic stops and was asked why he didn't redirect MacNaught to go to the other side of the vehicle. His response? One was the sergeant was a superior officer, and the other was that because we weren't dealt that hand of cards that night. Officer Holmes stated if he was faced with the exact same circumstances and facts, he would do the exact same thing again. Sergeant MacNaught felt differently, saying it was possible to learn from mistakes, and there were other options he might try if confronted with a similar situation again.
Michael Kelly, the police chief, just wrapping up a press conference within the last minute or so. From that, we learned that these officers were in violation of numerous policies leading to their termination. This has been an incredibly hard year for the family of Demarcus Semer. As you can imagine, hearing that these officers have been fired, they will not be back on the streets, is good news to her. She was extremely emotional as she told us her reaction earlier this afternoon. Take a listen.
I started singing, "What a mighty God we have, what a mighty God we have. Angels bow before him, heaven and earth adore, what a mighty God we have."
Now, even though this cop Keith Holmes violated 12 policies, and this cop Brian MacNaught violated 3 policies and shot this brother in the back, neither one of them were charged, but the chief took it in her own hands and she fired them. Now, the cop Keith Holmes showed no remorse. He said if he had to do it again, he would do everything the same, even though he's already been in trouble a few times before. He was already involved in another shooting before this, where he shot a man he thought was doing a drug deal, but it turns out he was buying Viagra. And the grand jury cleared him of that too. And he's had other trouble. He was forced to take some kind of sexual assault class and other things like illegally chasing or detaining people. But despite the celebration from his family, both of these cops ended up getting their jobs back.
A Fort Peirce police officer fired following a deadly shooting 2 years ago has won his appeal to get his job back.
Only on 5 tonight, Megan McRoberts reports as part of that decision, it was ruled the officer should not have been fired in the first place. And she's live in Fort Peirce tonight. Megan?
Kelly, when Officer Keith Holmes was fired about a year after the shooting, Police Chief Diane Burney said she found that he was in violation of multiple department policies. A federal arbitrator didn't disagree with her there, but did say that those violations didn't warrant termination.
It's like a slap in the face, kind of.
More than 2 years since Chelsea's brother, Demarcus Semer, was shot and killed following a traffic stop. She and her family are learning both officers involved in the shooting are getting their jobs back.
It wasn't a shocker. If one got their job back, we already knew the other one was going to get it back, so.
Sergeant Brian MacNaught won his termination appeal earlier this year, and this week we've learned the second officer, Keith Holmes, is also getting his job back. Documents from a federal arbitrator show Holmes will be reinstated with full benefits and seniority. He'll be on paid administrative leave until his application for medical disability is approved. He's had 2 surgeries on his leg, he said, after he was run over during the traffic stop that resulted in the shooting. In April of 2016, Holmes pulled over Demarcus Semer for speeding, then said he saw marijuana in the car. He was going to arrest Semer, but said Semer would not get out of the car. Holmes reached into the car to unlock it, but Semer drove off, running over Holmes' leg. Then investigators said Holmes shot at Semer's car, while Sergeant MacNaught was pinned inside the passenger car door.
While the shooting may be justified by the letter of the law, these officers could have taken steps to prevent it.
Police Chief Diane Burney in 2017 spoke after recommending to the city manager to terminate the officers. For Holmes, she said an investigation found he also had an unauthorized rifle locked up in his trunk at the time of the shooting. He was carrying an unauthorized set of handcuffs and failed to have a working dash camera. The arbitrator also said while he made poor decisions during the traffic stop, none of the violations rose to the level of termination. And a city spokeswoman tells me tonight that the city commissioners were notified about this decision late this afternoon. We've also reached out to the police department for a comment, but we are still waiting for a response.
Now, despite the police chief's decision to fire them, a court granted them their jobs back. Plus, they get full benefits, seniority, plus this cop Keith Holmes get a paid vacation until his medical disability get approved. Now, this black police chief, Diane Burney, did try to do her job and fired him at least. But America has always protected its killers. Until we have a system that can punish other people for what they do to us, then the same thing is going to keep happening. Until we have groups we can call not only to police ourselves, but to police other people who come in our communities trying to hurt us, people are going to continue to come in and disrespect us. And if we say anything about it, then we're the bad guys. But it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. When we're on code doing what we're supposed to be doing, nobody can stop us. And it doesn't have to be every single one of us, just enough of us. Because at the end of the day, we are all we got. And we are the only ones that can get us out of this position.
What are you running for?
I'm jogging.
You jogging?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think I broke a cram? I didn't do
I
anything.
don't know. How old are you?
Huh?
How old are you?
Why are you stopping me?
You what?
Why are you stopping me?
Well, we just had a robbery down there, and you kind of matched the description. You got some ID on you? No?
Yes,
sir. How old are you?
17.
17. Yeah. Where do you live?
Apartments.
What's your name?
I don't want to tell you.
Huh?
I don't want to tell you.
Well, have a seat then, because I'm gonna get it where you one way or the other. You understand what I'm saying?
Why?
Because you're not identifying yourself to me, and I'm investigating a crime. Sit down on the ground.
No, but my name's Andrew.
Huh?
Andrew.
Have a seat on the ground. Right now. I'm gonna light your ass up. You're not complying. No ID. I'm investigating a robbery. You're running from that area. Okay?
No. I'm just jogging.
You might be.
Showing boy 15 on the
It's a law that you have ID on.
I'm 17.
17's an adult.
Send him that minor west of your trucks on the left.
And what's your
Take the phone off of it.
41-415.
I'm recording it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just making sure.
Make sure what?
You didn't do anything.
I'm not gonna do anything as long as you're in compliance. You know, you want to be obstinate, you know, and don't want to give me your ID, so you don't have an ID. You don't want to give me your name.
Because you're folding me.
Yeah, I told you I'm investigating a robbery that come down there from the Walgreens, right where you come
1-1-5-4.
running from.
Show me that so right to you quick.
If you hadn't done anything, you're good to go. Okay? I'm fixing to find out.
Go for it.
All right. Have any of the units arrived on that scene yet where they can get a description of this male that I'm detaining right now?
Negative, they're still around, but per the comments, he should be wearing a blue sweatshirt.
Do I have a blue sweatshirt on? No, thank you. I do not.
Okay, he's got a blue sweatshirt on. Did it have a...
It's a black.
A Mustang logo on the front with an M, blue?
Yeah.
The caller didn't specify. They just said blue sweatshirt. Want me to have Central do a call back?
Yes, if you would, please.
Can I get your name?
Deputy Clark.
Badge number?
Where do you go to school?
I don't want to tell you.
You don't want to say that?
No.
Okay, I guess we're going to have to do this another route.
C4, Miguel, 300 air take 3724.
What are you doing?
I'm going to put you in cuffs till I get some information from you, guy.
I go to Davis. Davis.
That's all you give me.
Huh?
Turn around. Put your hands behind
I'll give
your
you
back.
anything.
Turn around and
Oh
put your
my
hands behind your back.
That's fair.
It ain't you, I'll let you go. But you being uncooperative, then we'll deal with it another way.
What are you doing?
What's the problem?
That's why city murders unsolved right here, man.
Business into something? What? I don't appreciate it.
That's why city murders unsolved right here, man.
Hey, man.
These folks ain't got nothing better to do, man.
You being loud, bro.
These folks ain't got nothing better to do. Whoa. Y'all see him grabbing me? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I don't have to talk to you, do I? Am I being detained?
You're bothering
Am I being detained? How? You stop me. I'm walking down the
Because
street.
you're talking loud.
But I ain't saying nothing to
Until
you.
you say the business end of something.
What I say was
the
popping?
business end of something.
I ain't want me to know what you talking about. What is you talking about?
You ain't gonna put
What
me
is you
on.
talking about?
What is you talking about? You ain't gonna put
What
me
is you
on.
put you on what? What is you talking about, sir?
what you just said.
What did I say? You rolled by saying, what's popping? I said, what's popping?
I said nothing to you. You said,
you rolled by
I'm going to give you the business end of something.
Man, ain't nobody say it. Am I being detained? I ain't say that.
No, you can keep
All right then. Come on, man. This the reason our city murders unsolved right here, man. This the reason, bruh. This the reason our city murders unsolved, man. Y'all folks learn y'all rights, bruh, because these folks harass us all the time, bruh. They do this all the time, bruh, for no reason. Thought somebody would go nut up or something, man. Come on, man.
Every day.
Come on, man. Study following us, but told us we could leave, though. Told us we could leave, but study following us. That's harassment, man.
Is we being detained?
That's harassment, man.
Did we say you became?
That's harassment, man.
We're walking on the sidewalk.
That's harassment, man. We step to the side and let these folks go, man. Let me step to the side. Obviously, I'm in these folks' way, man.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm in these folks' way or something, man.
I don't know why they walking.
I don't know what they on right here, though.
You know, it's a law. It's a public sidewalk.
I don't know what they on.
We can walk where we want.
I know what they on right here, though. I know what they on right here, though.
Does it matter?
Hell yeah, that shit matter. You know it do. Fuck you talking about, nigga.
We can walk on the public.
Hell nah, y'all can't sit there and follow us like that, man. That's harassment, man. Hell y'all talking about, man. I fear for my life. 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 These folks out here trying to kill us. These folks out here trying to kill us. Fuck you talking about. Hell is you talking about? Ain't nobody scared of that shit, boy. All the time, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, all the time, bro. I fear for my life, man. These folks do this every day. I really fear for my life.
Don't you bite me. You just pushed the man. What the f***? 6 follow me. Car 3900 block branch now. Yeah, I am called back up. For one more. Yeah, I'll scare you see him. 3925. Right, yeah. Ooh. Get back. He punched him in the head. Do what you gotta do.
Look what she's doing. Look at her. Look.
So you want to be a smart ass?
Yeah, look.
Don't touch me. I didn't touch you.
Give me your ID.
No.
You nothing. Don't touch me. I ain't touching you.
Yeah. She's bored. Look at them, y'all. Look, live. Yup. Look, she pulled up and started talking to me. Look.
I think that's 3760.
Pulled up and harassed him because he pulled over to drop the groceries off. She pulls up and bleeps her stuff because he's pulling his guard. Man, wow, in front of our house.
I'm not worried about it.
The racist shit that be going on in Swissville.
Never put your hands on me again.
No, don't give.
You put your hands on me. Don't never touch me again.
Yeah, get her badge number, Sid. She must be her first year here or some shit.
Hello, Sergeant.
Yep, thank you. She's mad. Yeah, she better not say shit to me.
So my brother and sister pulled up to our house, and the cop.
She pulled up and bleeped on him for no reason.
When she was getting out,
she just bored. They don't got shit to do in Swissville. Go around there. There's motherfuckers on the corner and all that. You come up here. Bored as
hell. When I was
hell.
getting out my car, she put her hands on me, telling me to get back in.
Can I see your ID?
And I told her I'm
I don't
not
have to
giving
give
her
you
nothing
nothing.
due to her touching me, because she didn't have the right to touch me.
And I got it on camera.
Can I have your ID?
I got it on camera.
You have it on camera?
Yeah, I got it on camera. Why are you touching? Look, y'all still see him touching her. Look, she's still touching him, and he's an officer, his damn self.
You keep disrespecting me.
I'm asking you for your ID.
You don't have to give you nothing.
No, she never pulled me over.
Never pulled him over or nothing.
No hit.
Bro, she tried to pull up on Sid, didn't even know he was a cop. Tried to grab him and everything. Now he's on the phone with his sergeant. She about to lose her job. She about to lose her job. Dumb as hell. What did he do?
He stopped in the middle of the roadway, and she was stopped in the middle of the roadway.
He wasn't even in the car. It was her. It was her.
And he's parked right
It was her. Now he is because you stopped him. You bleeped him.
right here.
You bleeped him.
I told him to move.
You bleeped him. See, that's how you know they don't fuck with us. He pulled over to drop the groceries off. She pulled over. I'm telling you, I am calm. She pulled over to drop the groceries off. She comes over and I'm like, he's about to pull off. I should give you a ticket. I'm like, he's about to pull over. Matter of fact, I'll give you a ticket right now. I'm like, what is all of that for? There's people around the corner at the bar outside doing all types of shit, and you come to bother us about grab this arm.
Calm down.
Calm down for what? That was uncalled for. Yes, sir.
Yelling.
Yes. I'm not yelling, though. I'm not yelling.
Okay.
Because this is uncalled for.
Several things.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what y'all want us to do. Y'all want us to move because we're black. I know what it is.
That's what I have.
We're the only ones that go through this, and you know it. So it don't matter. We know you don't even have to talk to them no more.
I already have an appointment with the magistrate. I need her ID and I need his ID.
What do you need her ID for? He wasn't even in the car. Police report for what? She's bored. She don't got nothing else to do.
Well, actually, we were on another call. She was getting something from me.
Well, she needed to go. She should have went there.
Okay. Well, she needs her ID.
For what?
For a police report.
A police report for what?
For what? What's the police report?
I'm citing her for parking there. Okay, great.
Cite.
I can't wait.
No. I got it all on camera, so it don't matter.
On camera, sir, you can show the court.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to show her grabbing the officer that she don't even know.
That's not even my car.
She's bored as hell. Badge number 160. I got the badge number 160.
And you can show your side of the evidence. That's all set.
She's trying to look at she's looking for warrants. That's checking for warrants. She's not writing, citations. She's checking you for warrants.
Well, she did what we do, sir.
What you smiling for?
Sir.
What are you? She's smiling, thinking it's a game. Sir, that's crazy.
Let me run the information.
Turn now to that ABC News exclusive with the black college student confronted by police while picking up trash in his own yard. ABC's Stephanie Ramos is here with his first sit-down interview since this incident went viral. Good morning, Stephanie.
Cecilia, good morning. His name is Zade Atkinson. He is the man in this video, and he says he was racially profiled right outside his house. He says by sharing his story, he wants to be the voice for people who cannot speak out against injustices.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 officers of the law.
This morning, in an exclusive interview, the man at the center of this viral video, Zade Atkinson, is speaking out after this dramatic confrontation with police while he was picking up trash outside his house in Boulder, Colorado.
You have weapons, you have protection. I'm over here picking up trash on my property.
The officer began to question me on who I was and what I was doing and if I had lived there, in which I answered all the questions and told him that I did live there.
Atkinson, a student at a nearby college, says he even gave the officer his school ID. The officer still not convinced. Request for backup saying Atkinson is not willing to put down a tool. A swarm of officers arrive on scene. You can see one officer with his gun out. But the police chief says only that officer drew his weapon and kept it pointed downward throughout the entire encounter. Atkinson and the officers appear to yell at each other for about 15 minutes until the property manager confirms Atkinson does indeed work and live there, and the officers leave.
Well, I believe that this man had approached me because I'm a black male in an all-white town. I thoroughly believe I was profiled.
He was stopped for being black and working. He was stopped for being black and cleaning his own property.
The incident sparking protests across Boulder.
This is our community.
The police chief telling city council a month ago the department launched an internal affairs investigation into the confrontation.
This is an extremely concerning issue and one that we are taking very seriously. I am not aware of any information that the man did anything unlawful or wrong.
The officer who first approached Atkinson is on paid administrative leave while the police department conducts an internal investigation. Now, the police chief says it could be another 2 months before the investigation is complete. But Atkinson says the police department can't police themselves. He's requesting an individual, an outside review of that situation.
Grading your own homework.
We turn now to the arrest tonight after a string of fires that destroyed several churches with African-American congregations. 3 historic churches were destroyed in just 10 days. A 21-year-old man is now in custody tonight and charged with arson, and it turns out he is the son of a local sheriff's deputy who was stunned but who helped authorities prepare for the arrest. ABC's Steve Osunsami is in St. Landry Parish tonight.
21-year-old Holden Matthews is being held without bond tonight. Police say that his father, a St. Landry Parish Sheriff's deputy, broke down into tears when he learned it was his son accused of burning 3 black churches here to the ground.
Holden's father is an employee of mine, fine man. He was shocked and hurt, as any father would be.
The clue that led federal and state investigators to the deputy's son was a red gas can found at the 3rd fire on April 4th.
All stations, we have a church on fire.
Authorities traced that can to a local Walmart and say that receipts and surveillance videos show Matthews buying the tools he needed to start the fires. They say surveillance video shows him driving his father's gold pickup truck at each location. At the 2nd fire, here at Greater Union Baptist, he's seen coming back to watch as firefighters risk their lives.
We are better than this, and this is a reflection of one depraved individual.
On his Facebook page, police found that Matthews is a fan of black metal, a version of heavy metal where the bands are often anti-Christian and sometimes neo-Nazi.
We saw an immediate threat to public safety. We felt that other crimes were imminent.
The pastor at Mount Pleasant says the arrest is heaven sent.
I'm elated. I'm happy. I'm good. I think I'll be able to sleep tonight.
And Steve Osunsami joins us live, and authorities are still working to determine a motive. I know, Steve, but revealing the suspect's father, that sheriff's deputy, as you reported there, did help with the arrest of his son?
That's right, David. The deputy worked with his boss to get his son out of the home so that they could make the arrest without hurting anyone else inside the home. He has not yet entered a plea in this case at this time. I'm standing in the middle of what's left of the first church he's accused of burning down. It's nearly 150 years old, and they're promising to rebuild.
A man with an assault rifle shoots up an apartment building, just missing adults and children inside. Now, police say the same man did it 2 days in a row.
Well, Fox 5's Denise Dillon is live at Atlanta Police Headquarters. And Denise, was anyone hit there?
Surprisingly, no, and that's amazing because there were dozens and dozens of bullets flying through that apartment complex. Residents, though, are terrified, many saying they're not going home until this man is caught.
They just shot up the whole building.
And she's not exaggerating. Take a look. A man jumps out of a black Jeep. He walks toward an apartment building, an assault rifle in his right hand. He approaches the building, raises the gun, and opens fire.
But the entire street right behind you was littered with shell casings.
Atlanta police found 22 shell casings in the parking lot. Windows are shattered, doors are broken. Cars have bullet holes.
The car was parked right there, next to my car, had a bullet hole in it, very large caliber.
That was around 6:30 Sunday night. Monday morning, it was like an instant replay. A black Jeep pulls in around 8:30. A man gets out, walks toward the apartment building, opens fire, and runs off.
Both instances very, very similar, just different times of day, just one day apart.
Those who live here at the Mechanicsville family apartments on Fulton Street are terrified.
As we got in the house, then the shooting started coming through the windows, so we falling down, hitting the floor.
After that, she knew she wasn't going to stick around, so she spent the night in a hotel.
I came back Monday morning. As I'm driving in, the man is walking to the door, shooting the building as I'm pulling in. I just hit reverse and came back out of here.
She says she almost hit the black Jeep as she roared out of the lot. She says she saw a woman in the driver's seat. Police are trying to figure out who that woman is, and more importantly, who the man is with the gun and why he shot up the apartment building.
But whatever problems that person has with whoever they think lives in this area, has to be some serious problems to come back twice.
A former Texas City police officer was sentenced to 10 years probation Tuesday after admitting to stealing more than $2,000 in Christmas present money from a man who suffered a fatal heart attack. In December 2016, he was responding to a vehicle stopped on a road. The driver, James Mabe, had either already suffered or was in the process of suffering a fatal heart attack, according to a family attorney. His wife had given him $2,400 to buy Christmas presents, but at the hospital, Crouch, the officer, gave the now widow a bag containing several $100s. Relatives reported the theft. Crouch resigned in January 2017. The family's lawsuit against Texas City and Crouch was settled.
This man over here on the other side of the gas station
I need you to stop.
Me.
I need you to
punched me like 7 times in the side of my head.
All right, get out the car. Hey, that's supposed to be a Bravo mic right here. Hey, turn around right now. Turn around right now.
It wasn't him. It wasn't him.
Stop.
Please hold on.
Okay, who is he? Who? Stop.
I need to look. I
gotta
just need to look. Sir, listen, he's not there. It's him.
Yeah, back up right.
I didn't do anything. He hit me. He hit me because he's looking at me. I won't fight you. I won't fight you.
Stop resisting.
I won't.
Stop.
I won't.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Hey, put your hands behind your. Put your hands behind your back right now. Oh, he got stabbed.
Yeah, I got stabbed across my face.
Wait a minute.
This
We got
right
like
here,
three
the girl,
different
she
things
took
going
off
on.
in the car. Listen, my ID's in my
hold
car.
on, okay, hold on. She said that you're the one that did it.
No, sir.
All right.
No, sir. I got witnesses to say she pulled a knife on me.
She stabbed you.
Yes, sir.
Ah, now it's starting to make
Yes,
sense.
sir.
Okay, she's saying that she was beat up.
No, sir. She pulled a knife on me. I defend myself.
Okay.
I got an eyewitness. Everybody, my ID's in my car.
Gotcha.
Right
okay,
there.
okay. Have a seat for me. Have a seat for me. Okay, now it's starting to make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right, you came around the corner and she started running towards you.
Yeah.
So I assumed it was you. So that's the only reason why he was helping me, right? Because we thought you was the bad guy. It happens. It's nothing personal, okay? Remember, we gotta make sense of everything, okay? She's telling us that this man beat her up.
Yeah.
Come to find out, the way it's looking, she stabbed this man. Okay, now, but see, now we starting to make, see what I'm saying? Now we start, so where you at right now?
Huh?
No, let me see. She got you in the neck?
Yeah, and then when I went to the car, she took off on the car and dragged me down. I told her, ma'am, stop. She took off on the car.
Okay, how did this all start?
I was next on the. She said, you got in front of me. Next thing I know, she come back with a knife.
Is that it right there?
That is an eyewitness. The eyewitness said she got the knife.
Okay.
That's when I attacked her, when I hit her.
Why did he punch you?
Because I got mad because he thought he could just push in front of me.
How did he get the cut on him?
Because I always have a knife on me.
Was a knife on your person or in your car?
It's been on my person all day.
Where do you carry it at? Because that's pretty big for your size.
On my
slide it down? Okay.
Right here, down my leg.
When did you cut him in the
I didn't mean to cut him. I just pulled it out and was trying to, explain to him to please leave alone.
I launched a movement called Blexit, which is the black exit from the Democrat Party. When I became educated about the issues and stopped reacting emotionally, which is what the left wants us to do, presumably, when they hold up pictures of burning churches, I began to examine the facts and look at some of the narratives they were spinning. For example, in 2016, it was police brutality, and I realized that they are dissuading us against our own best interests. And I wanted to have a more productive dialogue with the black community about the issues that are actually affecting us and impacting us. When I announced that I was a conservative, I've never seen anything more racist, more disgusting, more vitriolic, and more hate that's come my way in my entire life than the things that Democrats and the media say about me today. I've been referred to as an Uncle Tom, a bed wench. For those of you that don't know, that means a slave that sleeps with the master, a house nigger. And these are all words that have been said over and over again about black conservatives when they have the audacity to think for themselves and become educated about our history and the myth of things like the Southern switch and the Southern strategy, which never happened.
Here's how I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all aren't quoting me on this. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts you, backfires. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger, you know. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
Now, did the shot actually kill him? And if not, how did he die?
Oh, the shot did not kill him. We all believed that Martin King was killed
by that shot by Strausser. He was still alive when he was taken to the hospital. He was being worked on in the emergency room of the hospital. And I think the emergency staff were trying to do their best to keep him alive. And he was still breathing and alive. When the head of neurosurgery of the hospital, Dr. Brian MacNaught, came in to the emergency room with 2 other men in suits. And he said to the people in the emergency room, "Stop working on that nigger and let him die." And then he said, after a pause, "Now get out of here, all of you. Leave this room. Get out." And he emptied the room. And as he was emptying the room, a surgical nurse was the last one out. And she heard them do this, like picking up water in their mouths. And that caught her attention, and she turned and she saw them spit on the body of Dr. King, the 3 men. Then she saw Dr. Bland, take a pillow and put it over his face and suffocate him. And that's how Martin King was killed.